Hello everybody, so today we're just going to be taking a look at Ray, doing a quick overview of her abilities and her talents, and more specifically her loadout cards. And at the end we're all going to wrap this up with sort of how I think she's going to play out, how good I think she is, how you should be playing her and using her abilities. And this is very early, it's been 2 days since she has been out at the time that I'm recording this, so this is all subject to change as like people figure her out more and all that good stuff. It's going to be a pretty quick, chill video. I'm not really planning to put too much editing into this, so let's get into it. So, her abilities here, pause here if you want to read. Her weapon shoots, I think it's around 600 and something DPS. It's not too much. It's enough. It's not super significant. Her first ability, most important ability, is she can link to people. This is a bad build. It doesn't. It heals 50 by default. Actually, I'm running a different build. Don't find this stuff yet. Goes 50 per second at base, and it gives them ult charge, a little bit of ult charge every second. She can mark to allies, and that gives them a little slow, and it does 50 damage. Or like I think it's 70 something damage per second. Anyhow, so you can link to people, right? It's got a 1 second cooldown. She's got a heal. It bounces to people. You can't control who it bounces to or anything like that. It heals for 500. Or 520, I guess they actually changed it. If you are linked to somebody, it goes for 570 or 676, and that includes yourself. So if you're linked to an ally, it will heal you for 676. Bounces up to 4 times. Including the initial bounce. So 5 heals in total, has a 4 second cooldown, but that can be reduced later. So that's her healing. Then her other ability is this F ability. So basically what happens is that when you pop the... I'm gonna buy Chronos so I can show these off faster. But basically, what happens is... How do they put this? The maximum amount of damage you can take is 275 per instance. So if you get hit by Kinessa, right? Normally does 1200, you'll take 275. If you get hit by a Ruckus, it does like 40 per shot, I think. Then you'll take 40 damage per shot. So it's really good against stuff that does like, you know, has a slower rate of fire and does almost nothing against things that have a higher rate of fire. Or do under 275 damage. So it's pretty good against a lot of things. It's really good against like bailing people out and stuff. Oh, her ult. I should probably mention her ult. Her ult is pretty straightforward. It's 2 seconds of damage immunity, and then a full heal for both you and your target. So I can show that off with taking a bit of damage here. So it's pretty straightforward. The important thing about this is that the heal is not cauterizable. So it will always be a full heal no matter what. I haven't tested if dead zone affects it yet, honestly, because I haven't played too much. I'm like level 12, 13 with this character, so I haven't had too much time to play her, but you know, I've played her on PTS, and I think it'd be around level 20 if you count both of them right now. And for 2 days, it's not too shabby. You can activate this ability in your ult without being linked to anyone, though. And you can heal people who are full HP, and that's relevant later. Another thing with her F ability is that you jump higher and you move a bit faster. She already jumps a bit higher than most characters by default, but activating your F, which is called Envelop, you can jump pretty high. And Envelop lasts 1.5 seconds, if that's relevant. Okay, so talents. So this is basically your heal talent, right? This is range on your heal. It's not range on the initial heal. Like here, if I was just to pick something random, I can heal from here. If I was to pick extension, it's still the same range. So it's only the range on bounces. Focus. Focus is not good as a support. This is gonna be like again, ignore the builds for now. Support Ray is not going to run focus ever, because what it does, right, it gives you a cooldown on your link, right? So it's a 6 second cooldown now. I have Chronos, so it's a bit lower. And it triples the effects. Triples? Yeah. So 6 second cooldown, lasts for 2 seconds, effects are tripled. If you do the math, it's less, or it's a bit more. It's a bit more. It's like the same. I think it's a bit less. So it's burstier, but it's less overall. The reason that you would run this is because it affects the damage that you do when you link to people. So it could be good as a DPS talent. I don't know, I haven't messed with that too much yet. If you want to mess with it, go for it, but don't run it as support, because especially then you can't like link to allies very consistently to ult them and save them, or all that. With Chronos Fury, wait, that's actually a really short cooldown with Chronos Fury. Hold up. Live experimentation. I don't want to edit this. Is that why this card is 1.5 seconds? Wait, what the heck? Wait, what? Oh wait, did I just go the wrong talent? Oh, I went the wrong talent. Okay, I thought it was gonna be a 1 second cooldown there. Oh my god. Okay. Right. So don't run focus as support. Run it as DPS maybe. Our other talent is Restraint, and basically when you link to an enemy, might as well use this build, I guess. You prevent them from healing, so they can't really show that, right? But like when you do this, they can't heal anymore. That's cool. Is it really ever going to be run as a support? No. No, you're going to want this as a support. So right now, what I think her talents are is you run Extension if you're going to be playing support, right? If you're going to be playing a main solo support sort of style. You can run this if you want to be a DPS, I think, because this is actually pretty good for DPS. Some people run this as DPS. I don't see it, honestly. I think your damage is just lacking. Even if it sticks, it's still not great. But again, I'd have to test it more. I've played like 12 games of Heal Ray and 1 game of DPS Ray or something like that. So the reason that you would run this card is if you're going to pocket one person, right? So basically, there are some effects on her cards where, like, if you heal someone, it does a good thing. And if you only want your heals to hit one person, you and one person, then you can run this just so you don't accidentally heal someone else. Like, you might accidentally heal them with the extra range. So it's not really playing Restraint because Restraint is good. It's playing Restraint because Restraint isn't nerfing your healing and making you heal other people by accident, right? So that's where you could maybe play Restraint. If you're watching this with support rate, which, like, that's what the rest of this is going to focus on, you're running Extension, and that's really it. That's her heal talent. Like, it kind of sucks that that's the design. You only get one choice. This is pretty much base kit with no talents, right? But that's what you're running. So we're gonna hop back to lobby. I'm gonna show the advanced tab on the abilities real quick. Right. Your talents again, and here's pause if you want. I don't think it shows too much else that's spicy. This must be linked to an ally to use this ability. This is outdated. It was like that on PTS, but they changed it. So I'm gonna screenshot that just so I have it, and we are going to get rid of these, and we're gonna go over our cards, and then we're gonna make some builds. So let's go over her cards. So we know what she does now, right? We know what her kit is. We know that we're running Envelop because, or not Envelop, Extension. We're running the heal talent, and we know what her abilities do. So for cards, let's talk about how good each of her cards are. So Spring to Action. Not bad. It's a pretty significant amount of healing for the person that you're pocketing. If you're in it at 5, like, it's 100 extra healing per second. Don't mind my volume. It's fine. It's good if you're hyper pocketing one person, and she does kind of have low heals, so it is nice to supplement that. Arcane Focus is cool, right? Usually you'd expect a support to run the self-sustain card, but in Ray's case, I found that she doesn't really need it. I know a lot of people have been running this, so I will be messing with it more, but right now, I don't think you need this card because you heal yourself anyways, and you're going to be linked to someone, so you are getting that 676 heal, right? So, cool card. Don't think you need it. I don't think you need the extra self-sustain. You already have self-sustain in your base kit. Deft Magics. I know a few people have been messing around with this. There's a reason that I haven't really messed around with it, and I'll get to that later, because There's one specific card that really breaks her and defines a lot of who she is as a character. Bonus points if you can spot it. This card is good, right? Like if you know, it's a 1 second cooldown on your link. So if you want to like keep blinking between people, you can actually get a lot done, right? And you can shoot, and you can use all your abilities at the same time if you want to, except for your ult. Your ult blocks you out. I didn't really show that in chain range, but you can use all your abilities. A lot of the time with this character, you are popping like multiple abilities at once all the time, keeping an eye on cooldowns, ulting, then using all your cooldowns when you have like. There's a lot going on with this character. She's very high APM during the middle of the fights. So this card is good. It's kind of a small cooldown reduction, and if you're playing with things that don't really need cooldown reduction, it's not great. But again, we'll talk more about this sort of thing in our general playstyle later. Midnight Stroll. This card is really good. So the only downside is that it requires that you link to an enemy, right? So you kind of lose your bonus healing, your ability to pop Envelop on allies. You lose some card bonuses. You lose the extra healing on yourself. But the person that you link to does 25% less damage. The enemy that you link to. Imagine if you give this to allies. That'd be stupid. But combine this with the sort of kind of damage reduction thingy of Envelop, and you are very tanky with Midnight Stroll. It is very, very good. So, on to something that's not very good. So, this looks okay, right? And like, this is cooldown reduction again. And you might be thinking, okay, what if I could run this? Like, I could run like maybe something like this and do a lot, and then you realize that Envelop is like a 14-second cooldown. This is, if you use this consistently, like what's the math on that? If you take 0.5 seconds off their cooldown every 14 seconds, like how much cooldown reduction is that really? It's nothing. This card is absolute garbage. Speaking of absolute garbage, this card is absolute garbage. Again, 14-second cooldown. If you want to invest any amount of significant points into this card, it's not going to make a dent in the cooldown. And an Envelop really isn't what your kit's built around. You don't really want to be spamming Envelop. Envelop is like a save it for when you need it. And when you do use it, it's very impactful. You're buying Chronos on this character, so that helps too. Like, Chronos 1 is as good as this card at level 5, right? If you do the math. So, or almost as good. 0.1 seconds different. So, again, it's really just not worth it. You don't need to be popping Envelop multiple times per fight, usually, because it's just such an impactful ability and will usually turn a fight or keep someone alive or something. Desperate Defense. This is also garbage, right? So, like, first of all, if you want survivability, jumping ahead a little bit, you could just run HP. And this card is the same, but you can heal that HP, and it's not cauterizable, and that's the biggest issue with this, is that it's very low. So even if you get this out of caught, it's not that impactful, really. I mean, it's impactful if you get out of caught, but you're not going to get it out of caught. Envelop is a tool that you pop when... This card would be in handy when you're in danger, but when you're in danger, you're under caught. And when you're under caught, you're getting 0 value out of this card. That's basically it. Enveloping Magic. So this card is okay. This affects that 275 benchmark, so I don't actually know the numbers, but like it would lower that 275 to the amount of damage you could take. It's probably good, but at the same time, it's also like, it fits the theme of extra survivability, and she has other ways of surviving that are about just as effective, but they don't rely on you having a 14-second cooldown, right? Because Envelop it's a really strong ability and it's really impactful, but it is a long cooldown, right? And you're not lowering it that much, so it's a good card. You could run it, but it's not super fantastic. Speaking of ways to survive, this is going to be her main way of surviving as support, I think. So, DR for the skill's up to 5, right? So, if you heal this and it hits 3 people, you get like 10-15% DR for a few seconds, and that's all you really need. That's your time between heals. So it's just DR. It's a little bit of DR. It's like a free haven too, right? Good card. It's just DR. It's survivability. Good stuff. Definitely like worth running. Future Generations. This card is really good as a 1-pointer. So every once in a while, this card will proc, and you'll just have a free heal. You'll just shorten your cooldown by like a little bit, and that's really impactful. You know, just having your cooldown up more often. So I wouldn't really run it higher than that, I don't think. Again, I still have to test that a little bit, but don't run it as a 1-pointer in support builds. Don't run it any higher, because like again, it's really impactful, but it doesn't happen too often. And even raising and changing the damage threshold is like it's not super consistent. So good card at 1 though. Reload speed. So this is good, but since it's really difficult to control, like you don't have any control over who your bounces go to, so it ends up being really consistent unless you run it at a 5. And that's a lot of investment for reload speed that might not even be consistent anyways. So I don't. It's good. It's a good card. It's just whenever I played with a Ray who ran this, I always got caught off guard by how fast I reloaded sometimes. Like, 1 out of 10 reloads, maybe I just like reload super quick. I mean, you could run it, but reload speed is it's inconsistent. It's weird to play around. If it was more consistent, yeah, maybe, but it's okay. Let's talk about this. Okay, so next up, this is the card that defines her as a character. This card is stronger than most talents. Refreshing Break. You are running this card at 5 in every healer Ray build. It's the reason this character is good. If you think about what this character does, if you think about like what this character actually does, she doesn't really do that much. Like, she has damage and healing, right? Her damage is actually pretty consistent because she's not locked out of using her damage while she's using other abilities, except for her ult. So she can actually put out a lot of consistent damage, which is cool. But you're not picking her for like that's not a thing you pick a support for, you know? Her healing is low. You don't trade healing for consistent damage. Like, that's just not a, and other things can also do damage. So it's a bit weird. It's a bit weird. You're not picking her for that. Her healing, like I said before, it's kind of low compared to other stuff, especially. So you're not really going to pick her for her healing. What about like her other abilities? Well, she makes things survive really good. But like, that's kind of a lot of supports things, right? Like Domba, Seris. I mean, I haven't played too much with Seris new patch because frankly I'm not super interested in playing Seris. But like Domba and Pip and like, I mean, mostly Domba, Grover, like, supports peel well by nature. So having someone who's like a bit better at peeling is cool, but it's really just not worth trading for lower healing throughout the fight, right? Because if you have higher healing, then you're gonna have like more health when you get dove, or the other team won't be able to like just angle you as well. So really, her kit doesn't bring too much that's like too fancy, and you can use her survivability aggressively, right? But at that point, like, Furia exists, who has like just a much better team fight ult. I guess you can't really pick. I mean, you could pick Genos again, but like Luminary kind of got killed. You could go Korv if you want. You could go Seris if you want. You could go Ying, Lomba. Like, there's so many good aggressive supports right now, and I just don't think Ray's "I'm gonna make you survive" good is worth it, because all the other supports do that by just like doing more healing and also having like their own different kinds of utility. So Ray really doesn't have a reason to be picked in her base kit. But this card, combined with the fact that she gives a little bit of ult charge, 0.5 ult charge per second when she's linked to an ally, she gives that ally 0.5 ult charge per second. combined with this card, gives her a niche. She is an alt battery. And not like the I'm gonna farm, like I'm gonna give the other team alt, like Rom gives the other teams alts. Ray gives your own team alts. So that's her niche. This card is why Ray is pickable, because you can give your team alt within 30 to 40 seconds of the first mid fight. Like, it's really good. If you hard focus, like, if you have a Willow, right, you can start morale boost on the Willow, and she'll have ult in 40 seconds, which is more than enough time to, like, pop it, guaranteed before the other team, before the first mid fight. It's really, really good. So it's, if you have a Ray and the other team doesn't, you should almost guaranteed win the first mid, because you're gonna have ults before them, you're going to pop ults, and then you're going to win the fight with your ults that they don't have time to build yet, because they don't have an ult battery in their backline, right? So this is her niche. This needs to be at 5. I've seen people not run this at 5. I've seen good people not run this at 5. It's necessary, I'm going to be honest. Like, it's her reason to exist. If you're not running this card on Ray, you should be picking another support, because everything else that she does is outclassed, I think. Again, subject to change, yada yada yada, but this in particular is really good. Run it at 5. The next card, hey, speaking of cards that you should definitely run, this card, it works weird, right? And it doesn't proc on shields, which is really important. But it's just heal cooldown, right? It's heal cooldown. Like, you ran Brittle on Ying, you ran the old what are they called? Lightforge and Soulforge on Furia and Seris. So it's just heal cooldown. You run this. At what level? I'd say 5 all the time. Like, again, why is she good? Because of her ult, right? She gives people ult. And what gives people ult? Her heal. Her heal is good. Her heal gives people ult. So you want your heal up as much as possible. This makes your heal up as much as possible. It also patches up one of her biggest weaknesses, which is that her healing output is lower, right? If you're against stuff with no shields, she can output a good amount of healing. If she's against shields, it's a bit harder, because you know you're not getting consistent resets. But if you are hitting your shots and getting procs off this consistently, you're giving your team more ult charge, you're doing more healing. It's just fantastic. I think this card should be at 5. Moving on, we have an HP card. HP is, like, good. If I have to talk about an HP card, it's HP, right? Helps you survive. It's good. Go next. Ammo card. Again, it's just an ammo card. Important thing to notice is that it scales by 2, so this ends up being a very good 1-pointer. This card, finishing up with probably, I mean, not even the worst, actually. I'd probably consider Desperate Defense her worst card. I like the art for it, though. I wish Desperate Defense wasn't good, dude. Look, the card looks pretty. This card is also garbage. The speed isn't, like, impactful. It's not consistent. It's not worth running on support, right? It doesn't do anything for you. So, with that out of the way, let's go and make ourselves a main support Ray build. So, like I said before, right? Alt charge is the region she's picked. And then you want as much ult charge as possible. And you want as much heals as possible. And that's it, right? So then the issue comes across when she gets dove, because she is squishy sometimes. If you don't have your ult or you don't have envelop, you are squishy. You are very squishy. There's not much you can do. You can try to, like, pull some fancy wall jumps and jump over people, sort of like a discount pip. Your damage is okay. You can try to kite. It's not great if you don't have your cooldowns. If you do have your cooldowns up, she's underrated at how well she lives, I think. But, what card... Well, first of all, let's talk about 1-pointers, because she has 2 cards that are fantastic 1-pointers, and that's Future Generations, right? It resets the cooldown on your heal every once in a while. And the Ammo card. Scales at 2 per level, bumps it up from 6 to 8, which is pretty impactful, so... Like, these are just her best 1-pointers. And now we have... This is sort of where I've been testing stuff. we have space for 1 card at level 3 is what we have. Or we could mess around for 1-pointers, or we could I don't think we touch these. I don't think we touch these at all. So we have space for 1 card. I think right now this is where you could make some decisions, and I think this is where future testing is really gonna show and define the main Ray build. Right now, I think nope, wrong card. That's another good card. But I think Spring to Action is maybe the best. This is very squishy. Like this is no survivability at all. But here, let's actually just call this main. Because I call all my main builds main because it's useful for people who want to import them. This is useful, right? It's just more healing, right? It's just more healing. This is sheer output. This is like, I want to play Ray and I want to output the most value possible. Great. Okay, this is the build that you run if you want to do that. What if you don't? Well, again, we run this at 5 because that makes her good. We run this at 5 because that gives her the ability to have more healing and give more ult charge. We run her 2 best 1-pointers because we're not really super interested in running anything like a 2. There's nothing really worth running at a 2. And like, okay, what if we want to like, what if we are going to get dove? What if we are a little scared? And that's where you can run this. So I don't know. Now, this is the issue with not having too much time on Ray and not being able to play her in ranked. Is that I'm not sure how much DR she needs to survive yet. I have had no problems surviving with this build. Assuming you again, you have your ult up a lot, right? Because you're running this, so every time you heal yourself, you're giving yourself the out charge too. So you have your ult up a lot, you have envelop, which assuming you're not like spamming it for movement speed or jump height, which you shouldn't be, because that's just survivability, you survive pretty well. I've had no issues with surviving with this, so then it's like, okay, well, what if I'm against like something that's actually scary? What if I'm against a Mave? Or an Eevee or an Andrew that's gonna hunt me down all game? Well, then you could probably run this. And this will probably let you survive a bit better. And I think that's the 2 main builds. There's another option that I was messing around with that you have seen if you noticed me clear my builds earlier. And that's gonna be her build against shields. So against shields, again, we're playing Healing Ray, so we want this. But against shields, this card doesn't get too much value. You're not going to be proccing this consistently. So what I was thinking, I don't know how dumb this is that you might run this at 5 and rely on this to be your main source of healing. I don't think this is going to be good. Again, we can kind of just fill in the rest of her build like this. This is against, you know, say 2 shields. Let's say you're up against like, I don't even know, Big Shield Ash and Fernando, or Half Shell Makoa and Fernando, or Barrack. I mean, even then, dude, like I actually don't know when you'd run this, but like this is an idea. I'll just call this main versus shields. Okay, there's not enough room. I'll take. Okay, hold up. Main versus shields. There we go. This is an idea. Who knows? The other thing you could do, if you wanted to put reload speed in there for some reason, again, the 2 best cards, good 1-pointers, and then you could run reload speed if you wanted. There are other, again, I don't think this is very good. You could run this, but I've found that like you have your cooldowns, you'd rather have the output. You'd rather have this card at 5 if you are going to run it, honestly. You can mess with this, but again, this card is just so good at 5. You just get so much more. I think you need these first 2 cards to have a good support Ray build. So you could do this, but I think reload speed, if you were going to run it, you could. Don't run that card. You could run this, but like I don't see a situation where this will make the difference between living and dying, I'm not going to lie. So reload speed, that's it. if you really want to. I had another build that was based around self-sustain, but again, I don't think that's very good because your heal heals you already. So let's talk about DPS Ray. Actually, hold up. Before we talk about DPS Ray, let's talk about what if I didn't want to run Refreshing Break. What if I did just want to, you know, not run Alt Charge for whatever reason? So let's just throw in a filler here, and then throw in the rest of, you know, the Ray build, and then we get this. So honestly, I don't know. Like, maybe is it this? Is this the most output you can do without Alt Charge? I think this makes sense. I don't think there's any. I mean, you could run Midnight Stroll. Yeah, if you don't care about Midnight Stroll, about Alt Charge, I think you just run this. If you don't care about Alt Charge, I mean, you just I don't know if you run this then. I didn't really plan this far ahead. I know Vex 30 has a build that's something like this. Not something like this, but it's like the same idea. Like, I'm not gonna run Alt Charge. You could run Reload Speed, or you could just do this. This may just become super tanky. Main, no alt, and just do this. This could be okay. If you just really feel like you absolutely have to live, this is probably the best way to do it. And DR is going to be really good here instead of HP because you're healing yourself during the dive. So, you know, healing yourself, DR, makes the healing a bit more valuable, because if you get healed for 500 and you have like 20% DR on you, they have to do 600 damage to do the same, to move your health bar the same amount. So, yeah, I think this is what I'd run. I think Midnight Stroll is like crazy good, honestly. Just, you know, the other two cards are kind of what you want. Just these two, man, so strong. Now, finally, for a DPS build. DPS, you don't care about healing, you don't care about Alt Charge. You are there to kill things. So, again, her third best card to run it like a 5, I think, is Midnight Stroll, because it's just so much extra survivability. I think you're on HP, because again, you're just trying to live. Like, there's nothing really in here that's like mobility. Like, these are all support cards, right? These are pretty much all support cards. You can run this, but again, there's better ways to do that. We'll throw this in the build because I think this is good. These are kind of support builds. Like, you're not going to be healing, you're not going to be healing, you're not going to be healing. Like, it's just all healing cards. So you run ammo, and what was the last one? Yeah, I think what did I throw in here? I think just Refreshing Break at a 1. And then it was like this, because I wanted ammo at 2 for some reason when I was playing this. And like, this is what you run? This is DPS Ray, I think? Because really, her cards are very poor for DPS. Like, that's not going to do anything for you. So maybe it's this, and you just run the Alt Charge at level 1 to incentivize healing, or actually it's probably Magic in the Blood, just because like you're going to be doing damage and you are going to be healing people, if only for your self-sustain. So if we were to organize this all nicely, I think this is pretty nicely organized. So just to run stuff down, these two builds are what you run 99% of the time, and this is the one that you run 98% of the time. This is going to be output, just sheer healing output. I want to heal things. I'm not super scared of anything because I'm Ray and I have my cooldowns. If I am scared of stuff, if I am worried that I'm not going to survive good, I can try running this. And this is a bit more survivability. If I'm playing against a lot of shields, maybe I could run this. I would not run this, honestly. I don't think... I'll try it and I'll see how good it is, but I don't think this is going to be good. I'm not going to lie. It's just an idea, because new character, got to try out everything. Even the cards that I've said are bad, I have tried out in the past. I tried a lot of stuff. I wanted to make sure that I had like at the very least, tried everything before I made this video, so I did. If you aren't scared and for some reason you want to give reload speed instead of extra healing, which I do think she needs the extra healing, and I think the reload speed is nice, but it's so inconsistent that it's almost not worth it. But if you do want to run reload speed, here it is. If you don't want alt charge for whatever reason, then you can just become a super tanky, screw their dive support and, you know, cosplay as Maldamba. I don't know. Maybe she screws over dives. If there was a niche for her that wasn't alt charge, it would be this. But I don't think that's worth it. I think alt charge is just so good, and I think other things do the anti-dive thing just as well, probably better, and have more healing. I don't think this is good, but if you did want to run it for whatever reason, or your alts were all garbage, this would be the way to go. And if you want to play DPS, I think this is the way to go, and you'd run focus with this, so you could link to people and kind of burst them down. You could maybe run Restraint. I haven't messed around with that too much. Test it out, honestly, try it with both. Let me know what you guys think. Quick thing that I forgot to mention that I'm putting in editing, which now I have to edit this video. Great. Ray playstyle. So what are you actually doing on this character? How do you play? Well, she's pretty standard like other sports. The positioning isn't like super different, right? Your goal is to give your team enough alt charge to where they can use their ults to win the game, right? So you are prioritizing the person with the most important ult. You're putting your link on them. You are healing them as much as possible. And you're trying to keep everyone alive because you're a support, right? That's kind of, you know, a necessary part of playing support. But you're trying to keep everyone alive, but you're also trying to force feed, you know, your person with the best ult as much alt charge as possible. So healing them, keeping your mark on them all the time, all that good stuff, right? That's one of the reasons why Midnight Stroll isn't so great, is because you want to be giving that alt charge to the person with the best ult. And the person with the best ult will change. It's not always one person. Sometimes the person with the best ult will have their ult. Sometimes you want to have an ult like for the mid fight or whatever. So link with them, linking them in spawn, because you can give them alt charge while you're linked on your mount as you mount to the mid fight. Between fights, put your link on someone and spam heals on them. Just, again, give them more alt charge. If you're trying to heal or give alt charge to one person specifically, try to like isolate just you and them, so you can use all 5 bounces on you and them. So it's pretty standard support stuff, right? Like, she doesn't really position too different. Her range isn't fantastic, so you kind of do need to play somewhat close, so she does have some weak maps, but, you know, you're fine. Save your envelop and your ult to save people. Don't use them for healing, use them to save people. Don't use it for jump fight, don't use it for move speed, nothing like that. Use your ult and envelop to save people, and that is it, because they are your only ways of doing that. If you do not have those up, you're not going to be able to save people, you're not going to be able to save yourself. It's going to be a bad time. So save those cooldowns until you absolutely need them. Right? And then yeah, like that's really it. She's a fairly simple character. Force feed someone alt charge until they get their ult, and force feed someone else alt charge, and then rinse and repeat depending on which ult is the most important for that mid. Heal forehead. That's like it. One thing that's cool as Ray is that your bounce range is bigger than your heal range. So if you have a main tank way on point, you have a DPS right next to you, and you can't reach the main tank, but you can reach your DPS, try healing your DPS. The extra bounce range might bounce to your main tank, even if you couldn't heal your main tank normally. So that's cool. Sometimes it's worth using envelop for move speed. I lied earlier. Sometimes it's worth using envelop for move speed if you can like get to someone so you can ult for them. That's fine. Like, again, she's simple, right? She's alt battery. So that's it. That's the playstyle. Did I miss anything? Spam, shoot corner, like, you know, you're trying to hit as many shots as possible, so you don't necessarily want to spam, but if you can't see anything spam, might as well shoot. If you're getting flanked, pop your cooldowns, go to your team, pop ult for yourself if you need to. Play with your team, you know, your team can peel for you, you can survive a long time. If you're dueling somebody and you're by yourself, then mark them for the extra damage and for the slow. if you are 1v1 in a Maeve and you link to them and you pop envelop, you win that fight, like just as an example. So she's kind of scary in duels, but make sure you link to them so you get that extra like 60 something DPS, because it does matter. Yeah, that's about it. Okay, back to finishing the video. Alright, one more thing that I forgot. How good do I think Ray is gonna be? So this is where I think some of what I said people will disagree with. Reasonable people, other good support players might disagree with me, but I hope that I like at the very least explain myself well enough to the point where they can like see where I'm coming from and understand that and all that good stuff. But this is where I think I stray a little bit from what people mostly think. So I think people in general, I think, have this conception that she is going to be an off support. She is going to pocket someone and give them ult, and you're going to play with another healer because she doesn't do enough healing. I think that she does enough healing to keep a whole team alive. I think that's fine. Instead of telling you how good, well, as well as telling you how good I think she's going to be, I want to tell you a story about another character. There was a champion release a while back who didn't do that much healing, and some people thought she was pretty squishy, and she definitely was pretty squishy, especially when she didn't have her ult or her mobility, and she was really squishy, but she brought a lot of utility to the table, and it took a long time, took a while, for people to figure out how to play around that utility. But when they did realize what the character was capable of, and what they could do, they were top 2 characters in the game. Now, I don't think Ray is going to be as strong as Io. There's just no way. Like, having dog cap and 25% DR, like, nah, that's just not going to happen. But I do think that they're looking similar, right? It's low healing, not great survivability sometimes, it's like inconsistent survivability, and a lot of utility. I think that right now, with the way people play around Ray, she's not that good. Like, you could maybe pick her, like maybe C tier, D tier, probably C tier. I think that if you get a team and you play around Ray, and you use your ults pretty much on cooldown, you allow Ray to give ult charge in the most effective way possible, you play around the slightly lower amount of healing, and you let her do her thing and be that utility, and you play around her ult, and you play around envelop, and you push things with those, and you live things, and you have ults every other fight, I think she's going to be very, very good. Now, where would I put her next to other supports? I don't think she's going to be better than Grover. I think Grover brings so much CC and a good ult. Like, his ult does the same thing as Ray's, but I mean, it's AoE. But his ability to poke out DPS, right? That's the main thing about Grover, is that he can fight and win fights against DPS, and he's really the only support who can do that. Ray can, I mean, she can shoot them, but she's not going to do too much more, especially since her projectiles are actually really slow. I don't know if they showed that off well enough, but her projectiles are really slow. I don't think she'll be better than Dombo. I think Dombo and Grover are easily the top 2 supports right now. I think there's a bit more variety than some people say, especially once you get past Dombo and Grover. But I think, you know, Dombo probably best healing output in the game, maybe. But he has the CC, right? He's healing, he's CC, he's pretty good damage, his ult is fantastic. He is, the gold standard for supports, he's the strongest patch. He is very, very good. I don't think Ray is going to be better than either of those. Maybe. I don't know. Probably not. Yeah, almost definitely not. However, looking at other supports, is she going to be better than Seris? Is she going to be better than Cherish Furia, Ying, Genos, Corv, Combat Medic Pip, Io? I don't even know whether I should count Grok or not. I think that she will be better than all those. I think she's going to be the third best support in the game once people learn about how she plays, what her strengths are, and how to play around her. And I think that once people do that, I think that we're going to see Grover bans. I think we're going to see Domba get picked, and then I think we're going to see Ray get picked. I think she's the third best support in the game once people play around her a little bit more. And she will have her comps where she's not very good, like if your team doesn't really rely on ults, then yeah, you might go something else, or if you want something a bit more specific, or if you really think you're going to get dove super hard, you can go other stuff, and other stuff is probably a bit better. Overall though, I think she's going to be the third best support in the game, and it is worth saying that is a hot take right now. That is a hot take. Other people don't think she'll be as good. That's a reasonable take, and she is new. Again, disclaimer, all that. I think she's going to be third best support in the game. Has the potential to be higher. We'll see. Back to the video again. And yeah, that's going to end the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully I made sense. Hopefully this was cool. By the way, I almost forgot to put this in. Disclaimer before I end this, I stole this idea from Bird. Bird was a pro support player for NIP. He used to make YouTube content. He doesn't anymore because he quit the game. I don't think he doesn't play anymore. But he made a video like this for Seris a long time ago, and my previous video was on Seris. And I was doing research for that video, and I came across that, and I was like, oh, this is a cool video. I remember watching this. And I was like, I should do one of those for Ray. So I did. So credits to Bird for the idea. But yeah, I stream every day at 8 EST, links in the description, Discord, new video every Saturday, plus some random ones like this one. I don't know when I'm releasing this one. We'll see. Kind of depends whether I get the next video done. We'll see, because the next video is going to be a fun one. So subscribe if you like these sorts of less gameplay videos. I mean, I will post gameplay videos sometimes, but most of it is just going to be like just talking about the game and Furycraft, because there's enough gameplay videos and I stream anyways. So hope you guys enjoyed. Bye-bye.